Star Wars, Young Jedi Knights, The Lost Ones, Chapter 10. The next morning, as they found their way through the streets, Jason had an uneasy, prickly feeling at the back of his neck, as if a trail of mermans were crawling along his skin. Something felt wrong, but he couldn't quite put his finger on it. Blaster bolts, he muttered. For some reason, they all seemed a bit jumpy today. Jaina had taken the lead, since she was the most familiar with the way to Zeke's quarters. Jason, on the other hand, always got lost. Tamalka followed Jaina in silence, her shoulders squared, her back rigid, while Jason and Loie brought up the rear. They trooped through the ancient, cramped alleyways of metal and stone. The lights were too dim in this area, and the air tasted of rusty metal and decay. Even the odors were unfamiliar, and to Wookiees, at least, judging by the wrinkling of Loie's nose, none too pleasant. "Here we are," Jaina said, rounding a sharp corner into an even narrower passageway. She stopped at the low doorway and pressed the signal button. The indicator light flashed red, denying them access. Jaina bit her lower lip. "That's strange. Zeke said yesterday he'd clear us for access." "Perhaps he is more upset than we expected," Tanaka suggested. "Maybe," Jaina agreed, "but not likely. Zeke doesn't break promises. We've had disagreements before, but..." Her voice trailed off. When Lobaka rumbled a comment, EMTD translated. "Master Lobaka wonders if Master Zeke might not simply have just stepped out for a morning constitutional. Or perhaps he has decided to procure comestibles for your morning meal." "Yeah, that would be better than those stormtrooper rations he gave us last time," Jason pointed out, feeling his stomach gurgle with the taste at the thought. "He knew we were coming," Jaina said. "He should have been here." "Let's wait for a while," Jason suggested, sitting with crossed legs on the floor. "He'll probably turn up in a few minutes with some wild story." "That would be just like him," Jaina agreed. Jason, knowing his sister was still worried, tried to sound as confident as possible. "He'll be back any minute. You'll see. In the meantime," he suggested brightly, "I've got some new jokes if anybody wants to hear them." The twins entertained the other young Jedi Knights with the stories of Zeke's past adventures. Jason told about the time Zeke climbed 42 stories down an abandoned turbolift shaft because he saw something glittery and reflective by the glow of his pulsed laser spotlight. Imagining treasures that grew more and more extravagant with each level, he descended. Zeke discovered in the end that the shining object was merely discarded foil wrapping stuck in the ooze dripping along the shaft wall. Jaina started a story about how Zeke reprogrammed a personal translating device for a group of snide reptilian tourists who had shoved him out of line for free samples of a new food product. Zeke changed their translator so that every time a reptilian tourist asked for directions to eating establishments or museums, they were instead guided to seedy gambling parlors or garbage reprocessing stations. "How simply dreadful," EMTD commented. Minutes crept by, and it became an hour, until their friend did not return. At last, Jaina stood. "Something's wrong," she said, biting her lower lip. "Zeke's not coming." Loie growled and EMTD translated. "Master Lobaka suggests that perhaps Master Zeke requires a certain amount of time to overcome his embarrassment. I don't suppose I'll ever understand human behavior," he added. "Maybe," Jane said, her face troubled and unconvinced. "Hey, why don't we leave a video note?" Jason suggested. "We'll try again tomorrow. How long can you stay mad at us?" The next day, Zeke was still nowhere to be found. Jason pressed the access request button beside Zeke's front door, but still there was no response. Old Peckham would be returning from the Mir station soon, and he would come home to an empty apartment. "I think it's time to start looking for Zeke," Jason said, staring at the blank info panel. "Agreed," Tanaka said. "Well then," Jaina said, rubbing her hands together briskly, "what are we waiting for? If we still can't find him, we'll talk to Mom." Leia Organa seemed preoccupied and concerned as they entered her private office. Leia smiled at them and brushed the stray hair out of Jaina's eyes. "I'm glad you're here, kids. I want to show you something." Before Jason and Jaina could tell her about Zeke, Leia played a grainy, long-range video clip that showed Imperial attack vessels striking New Republic military supply cruiser in space near Coruscant. That looks like the ship that kidnapped us from Lando's Gem Diver Station, Jaina cried. Labaka growled in agreement. Leia nodded. I thought so, from your description, and now I can confirm it to Admiral Akbar. This attack came 2 nights ago. We may have a real threat in our hands, right here in the capital world. Jaina watched the video clip again and frowned. Something else doesn't seem right about those images. I'm trying to figure out what. Leia returned to her desk. Admiral Akbar and a handful of tactical experts are analyzing the footage, and they might want to ask you some questions. We're stepping up security against the very real possibility that we may see another Imperial attack. After that news, when Jason poured out the story of Zeke's disappearance, Leia didn't seem overly concerned. She let her gaze drift across all 4 of the young Jedi Knights standing in her office. All right, let me ask you this. Who knows the city better, the 4 of you or Zeke? Well, Zeke does, Jason answered in a hesitant voice, but... And if Zeke is upset and hiding somewhere, Leia continued, is it any wonder you haven't been able to find him? But he wouldn't do that, Jane objected. He promised us. Well then, Leia said in a calm, reasonable voice, maybe he's found that central multitasking unit already and Peckham shuttles him up to the mirror station. But he would have left us a message, Jaina said her mouth in a stubborn line. She's right, Mom, Jason spoke up. Zeke may seem like a scamp, but he always does what he says he's going to do. Leia swept her children with a skeptical look. How many years have we known Zeke? Jaina shrugged. About 5, but what? And in those years, Leia went on, how many times has he just disappeared on some adventure, only to reappear about a month later? Jason cleared his throat and shifted uncomfortably. Maybe half a dozen times? There, you see, Leia said. Isn't that close the matter? But those are other times, Jason pointed out. We didn't have plans to spend the day with him. Leia sighed. And those other times, he wasn't upset over an embarrassing diplomatic dinner either. Look, he's older than you are, and legally he can come and go as he pleases. But even if we knew for certain that he was missing, which we don't, there's very little we could do about it. The galaxy's a big place. Who knows where he might be? People turn up missing all the time, and we simply don't have the resources to look for everybody. Just this week, I've had reports of at least 3 other teenagers missing in Imperial City alone. Why don't you wait and talk to Peckham when he gets back tomorrow? Maybe he'll have some ideas. She herded them out of the room so she could get back to work. Right now, I've got to get ready for my next meeting with the Karnak Alpha Ambassador. Then I have to see the Hall of Tree people again for a musical ceremony this afternoon. She rubbed her temples as if in anticipation of a headache. I really do love my job. Most of it, at least. As they left Leia's office, Jason groaned. Mom doesn't believe there's even a problem. I guess we'll have to keep searching on our own, Jaina said. Loie growled agreement. If it's all up to us, Jason said, pounding a determined fist into his palm. This is a fact, said Tenel Ka.